Welcome back everybody. Today I wanted to break down the Battle of Khorm, a very important battle that often only gets remembered for what happened to Clone Commander Wolf during it. With it being the focus today, we'll be looking at every moment throughout the battle, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. The planet Khorm, an ice planet, was a key resource to both sides of the war. Khorm was one of the 3 planets that held the natural resource Agricite. While the Republic wanted this planet for its resources, the Jedi also said they were more interested in helping out the oppressed natives rather than the resource itself. Nonetheless, by 22 BBY, the planet was already controlled by the Separatists, with one of the local warlords, Ungar Gout, taking power and allowing the Separatists to deeply entrench themselves in the planet. For this reason, the Republic put together a large task force comprising of Jedi Masters Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, and Tot. These Jedi were aided in their ground operations by Captain Kendall Ozzel, a non-clone officer, as well as Commander Wolf of the 104th Battalion and Captain Sharp of the 44th Special Operations Division, also known as the Devil Dogs. In space, the fleet was led by Admiral Weiler. The first phase of the assault by the Republic was landing and taking a processing plant and turning it into a command post. The Republic forces, at full strength, assaulted the facility with a ground force of ATTEs, ATRTs, as well as infantry troops. As they approached the processing plant, the Republic forces were bombarded by fire from J-1 semi-autonomous proton cannons defending the facility, and this forced the majority of the Republic forces to disembark and attack without the vehicles. As they began their assault, Captain Ozzel ordered the ATTEs to fire on the cannons, despite how close the Jedi generals and clones were to them. With that, the ATTEs fired, destroying the cannons, and the ground forces were able to move into the facility. Unfortunately, Warlord Gout was able to escape on a railjet. After establishing their command post, the fleet in orbit called to inform the ground forces that a Separatist ship was approaching the planet. Upon trying to follow the ship into the eye of a storm, the Republic learned that the Separatists could control weather using a special station. And, unbeknownst to the Republic, the ship that was heading for the planet was being piloted by none other than Ventress. With the discovery of the weather station, the Jedi knew they had to take it out in order to allow the fleet to reinforce the forces on the ground. So Masters Plo and Fisto took a detachment of the Devil Dogs, led by Captain Sharp, on that mission, while Captain Ozzel, Commander Wolf, and another detachment of clones stayed at the command post. Just as the task force left for the weather control station, Ventress led a massive assault on the Republic command post, using AATs and a large ground force. As the assault began, Ventress snuck into the facility and engaged Jedi General Tot, and while Tot was originally winning the duel, Ventress used the force to move one of her sabers behind Tot, activating it, drawing it into the back of Tot, and killing him. Once Captain Ozzel learned of the general's death, he knew he assumed command, and despite pushback from Wolf, he ordered the ATTEs to charge the Separatist forces. This drew the Republic forces into a trap, allowing hidden dwarf spider droids to emerge from the snow and destroy the Republic forces. Wolf and Ozzel narrowly escaped before Ozzel ordered the forces to surrender to the Separatists. While the command post was being assaulted, the task force moving on the weather facility was detoured by the discovery of a village of locals that had been killed, and at the request of Ad Aro, the Khormi local who was working with the Jedi, the task force stopped to help bury those who were lost. While this episode of the story is short, it highlights Captain Sharp's dedication to the mission and results, and the humility of the Jedi, who did not want to give up their ideals for victory. Back at the command post, before imprisoning the Republic forces, Ventress sought to interrogate them to learn of the location of the Weather Control Task Force. Ventress began executing soldiers in front of Captain Ozzel and Wolf to force the information out of them. Eventually, Ozzel caved and revealed that the team was going to attack the Weather Control Station. With that information learned, the Separatist leaders left and the remaining Republic forces, while very few, were imprisoned. Once the Separatist forces learned of the Weather Control Task Force, the Warlord contacted Vilpu Nag, the Separatist in charge of the Weather Control Facility, which was located in the Kafiri mountain range. The Warlord told Nag to generate a large enough storm to kill the Jedi Task Force, despite knowing that Ventress would be there. As the storm intensified, the Jedi knew something was up. As they passed under a ridge, Ventress ambushed them from the top of the ridge, and a number of commando droids emerged from the snow behind the clones. The 2 Jedi dueled Ventress and entrusted the clones to take out the droids. As the duel turned in favor of the Jedi, Ventress used the Force to create an avalanche and used that as an opportunity to escape and trap the Jedi. Back at the processing plant, Wolf, Comet, and Spitter were working to break out of their holding cell alongside Captain Ozzel. Once they escaped, they stole a Separatist AAT and used it to break out of the processing plant. causing mayhem and destruction as they went on. The droid in charge called Ventress, who was looking for and eliminating survivors of the avalanche, and she left this mission, leaving a small squad of commando droids in charge while she went to deal with the escaped prisoners. As they were getting closer to the exit, Captain Ozzel attempted to order the clones to continue fighting, but they disregarded this idiotic command and escaped the facility in an attempt to regroup with the larger force of clones. After they escaped, Ventress arrived too late to help out and complained about the failure of the warlord. Once Ventress had left the site of the avalanche, the clones and Jedi emerged from the snow and took out a small squad of commando droids left behind. After regrouping, the task force had lost 4 clones, Sten, Deadeye, Blunt, and Jark, as well as the explosives they needed for the weather station, and Plo Koon also had a broken arm. In order to make up for lost time and get the mission back on track, Ad Aro called the ice worms known as the Aelids to use as transport to get to the station. Without explosives, the clones and Jedi came up with an idea to turn the controlled weather storm on the station and destroy it. As they approached the station, they came under fire, and while the main force returned fire, Captain Sharp ordered Fixer to slice in and redirect the storm. He was successful and they were able to destroy the station and get away. At the same time the task force was moving on the weather station, the escaped Republic forces had regrouped at the destroyed ATTEs from the earlier assault. As Captain Ozzel wanted to rearm and return to the fleet in space, they were attacked by a large separatist force led by Ventress. Captain Ozzel ordered that their heavy armor be used to take out the separatist forces, but was told once again by Wolf how it was already destroyed. At this point, Ozzel was completely lost and simply explained that he didn't know what to do. This is when Wolf stepped in and took charge, ordering his men to fall back and use the destroyed ATTEs as cover. As they were being overwhelmed, Ozzel continued to beg to surrender, but the clones would not allow it. Thankfully, the weather station was destroyed and Admiral Weiler ordered a large force of reinforcements to assist the clones and Ozzel, arriving just in time to save them and take out the separatist forces. With the weather station down, Wolf and Plo finally re-established connection, needing to recapture the processing center first and then move back to their main objective, taking out the Agrasite mine. With a fresh batch of reinforcements, Captain Ozzel and Wolf moved on the processing plant in a swift assault that saw the separatist forces quickly taken out. A foothold was also re-established and any surviving separatist forces were seen retreating. Despite this victory, the arrogant Captain Ozzel wanted to directly assault the mines without waiting for the Jedi task force to scout the area and report back. Despite disagreeing with the orders, Wolf complied, ordering Sinker to organize and load the men onto the gunships and ordering Boost to organize and load the walkers onto ships. While the processing plant was being retaken, the Jedi task force was scouting the mines and noticed 2 large issues. The first was that the entire Khormi population had been captured and forced to work in the mine, and Ventress, due to so many losses, was loading explosives into the mine as well. This worried all of the leaders in the task force. The Jedi and Adaro were dedicated to saving the people, while Sharp worried about the mines and the mission. As they were discussing what to do, both teams of the Republic forces were about to converge on the mines. Captain Ozzel's assault force arrived, consisting of a few acclimators as well as many gunships, Y-Wings, and V-19 Taurens. They quickly took out the light defenses, and feeling confident, Ozzel ordered the troops to land. It was then that the warlord deployed 3 massive Agrasite cannons capable of easily destroying the acclimators. The cannons were well defended by AA guns and armor, so the bombers couldn't break through either. Ozzel once again had a complete breakdown and simply could not lead his men. On the ground, Fisto and Sharp went to take care of the cannons, while Plo went to free the slaves. Wolf and the remainder of the ground forces were able to recover from the strong counterattack by the separatists. Ozzel was unconscious, but Fisto was able to reach out to Wolf, ordering him to prepare his men for a ground assault. Back in the mines, Master Plo, Adaro, and 2 clones were ambushed by Ventress. Plo took Ventress head-on in a duel and ordered the other 3 to continue to free the Khormi people. As the duel between Ventress and Master Plo intensified, the majority of the ground forces began to scale the cliffside using the ATTEs, while Fisto and Sharp, on foot, climbed up the mountain for the guns. The pair were able to infiltrate the gun platform through the barrel of one of the main guns, and their presence took the droid forces away from the prisoners in the mine. Fisto and Sharp planned on using the Agrasite cannon ammo to blow up all the cannons. Once they had moved the ammo into place, Sharp ordered Fisto to retreat. He was going to sacrifice himself and go out like a true devil dog, quote, with a bang, and with that, Sharp shot the ammo, blowing up the entire gun platform, sacrificing himself with Fisto narrowly escaping. This explosion also took out the warlord in charge, leaving only Ventress and the droids. Speaking of Ventress, her duel with Plo had turned to a losing one for her. Despite Master Plo having a broken arm, he was still besting Ventress in combat, and she knew it. She attempted to detonate the explosives in the mine, but Master Plo quickly force-pushed the detonator out of her hands and off the platform they were fighting on. Ventress quickly jumped after it, but before she could get to it, Wolf shot it, who had just arrived with Master Fisto and the rest of the Republic forces. Enraged by this, Ventress fled quickly, slashing Wolf's helmet on the way out and taking out his eye. As she escaped, the Republic was able to fully take over the planet and establish their permanent command post. It was here that the Chancellor himself congratulated the team, and for some reason gave special honors to Captain Ozzel, including command of his own strike group, both in space and on the ground. And this would set the stage for his later position in the Empire as well. Following the capture of this planet, the Devil Dogs would never be seen again in battle. Wolf would go on to serve without an eye under Master Plo and the 104th on various missions throughout the Clone Wars. Most importantly to the Jedi though, the planet was secure, their men were safe, and the Khormi people had been rescued. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, feel free to subscribe. If you want to see daily short lore stories and videos, feel free to follow me on TikTok. The link to that is in my bio.